You can get it on motorsport.tv on YouTube, and then on Jaguar Simola Hillclimb.com. Oh, it looks like we are live.
Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Arnold Getz and this is the 2019 edition of the Jaguar Simola Hillclimb, and I'm alongside one of the voices of South African motorsport, Greg Maloney. Good morning, Greg. Great to have you with us.
Yeah, good morning, Arnie. Great to be here, bud. 10th running of the Jaguar Simola Hillclimb. I'm looking forward to it. Yesterday's Classic Car Friday was mind-blowing in terms of the action. We had some tricky conditions. It looked like we were going to get similar conditions here this morning, but fortunately it looks like the blue skies and the sun are powering through here, and we may have a clear day.
Well, I can tell you that a little bit of rain fell down, and I hate to tell you, Greg is looking out my window here. I'm looking at this one there.
Okay.
That's not looking so
slightly
promising.
Slightly different.
We're hoping that it's going to be very quick because we had a little squall yesterday of about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
How does that, let's start before we do anything else and set the scene for that, how does that affect the vehicles and the tarmac?
Look, the bottom line is the tarmac is pretty rough, as we know here, and it has been for the last probably 4 or 5 times we've run up this hill. So the stones are already starting to come through the tar, which makes it a little bit more difficult to get traction out of. However, most of the guys, the top runners, will have options of dry and wet weather tyres. So they're going to have both here. If they don't, then they're going to have to do like Willie Hepburn did yesterday and just go out on slicks and see what happens. But as I said, most of the top teams would have taken that into account. They know that being in the most temperate weather in South Africa, you can have it either way, and it can change within 10-15 minutes, as we saw yesterday. So hopefully those are not going to be affected too badly. The one concern though that I do have is the ambient temperature, because you need a little bit of sunlight, you need a bit of warmth in the air to create some heat on the track. And if that's the case, well, as you can see there, those are the black lines that were laid down yesterday. And if that's the case, then fortunately all the guys that are running at the top end, and in fact I would say everybody other than the road class will be using some form of tyre warmer to get the heat into the rubber. Even if you've got wet weather conditions, if you can get heat into the rubber, you're still going to find traction. And I found it on a few occasions on my race career where you've gone out, and to try and get the heat when you don't have tyre warmers is not easy. But if you've got the tyre warmers on and they go out with a little bit of heat, it makes it a lot easier for the driver. And I think that's what everybody's going to be talking about, and it's going to be sort of the strategy throughout the first couple of interviews down in our pit lane, talking to the guys and saying, you know, you've got iffy conditions here. What are we going to do? What's the plan? Are you going to try and run? Yesterday, with the likes of Franco Scribanti, he didn't do the first session. He stayed out completely because of the wet. So that might be also a couple of guys. You know, you got 5 practice sessions today, 2 qualifying sessions in the late afternoon, and then tomorrow we come back for more of the same in terms of another 4 qualifyings and then into the final run. So yeah, I would say the guys are going to be playing it very easy at first. If conditions change, we're going to hit this hill hard.
So you may be hearing in our effects microphones that the clerk of the course and the officials and the marshals are actually doing the races briefing at the moment. That's a very important part of how things set up. What are they being told right now if someone hasn't been involved in racing?
But basically, they're running through the sort of very basics of motorsport, because some of these guys would never have done a hill climb before. And when you look at the permutations of a hill climb, remember you've got 1.9 k's to go. It's not a circuit, so you're not coming around all the time, and you're not having situations where you're going to have people coming back and having to retake a lap. They're probably being told what the crash procedures are, if there are any crashes at any stage, what those guys have to do. If you are hindered in a crash, that you will be able to come back down again and be given a second run, and it's not a penalty run, it's your original run, because you were penalized by having to slow down for something that happened in front of you. And then of course the other thing is, it's probably just a big welcome to all our international drivers and friends that have come from all around the world, because no longer is this just a South African event. We've got 2 American drivers here, we've got guys from all around the world that are watching us on the live stream, and we welcome all of them today, and hopefully that's pretty good. And of course we've got our pit lane consultant, Colin Hasty, who's waiting down in pit lane for us to give him a big welcome. Colin, hope you're ready to go, bud, because we're good to go to you. Or maybe not.
Maybe we're not going to go to Colin. I thought he was waiting there quite patiently.
Yeah.
And well, we'll cross to Colin when he's all good and ready to go. There is the races briefing and a very brief look. The races briefing.
No, I think. All right, looks like Fani is another one of our pit lane consultants. He's going to be in amongst the crowds today, and also picking up on a couple of VIPs and celebrities out there. Fani, if you're there, come on down to us and let us know who you got there, bud.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks, Arnie. I'm probably in the best seat in the house at the moment, here in this one of the VIP lounges here, and I'm with Mr. Arnold du Plessis. He's the team owner of the BB Motorsport team. Mr. du Plessis, thank you very much for your time and welcome.
Good morning, and thank you for your welcome.
So last year, very successful run up the hill with you guys taking the King of the Hill. How's it going so far for this year preparation? Are you guys confident in defending that title?
You must realize last year didn't go without our hiccups and problems that we had. I firmly believe that we were 300% better prepared for this year. Our car is very nicely balanced, and I think the team is ready for the challenge. So we're looking forward to it, and let's see, the best man will win.
Was there a lot of changes to the vehicle, preparation changes made to the vehicle for this year's hill climb?
Typically, I mean, everybody is challenging our car on the stage, so if we don't do upgrades, the others will pass us. So yeah, there's definitely a couple of upgrades that should us make us faster than last year.
One question that I have to ask, the GTR monster of Franco Scrivanti, what's the feeling? There's a lot of hype?
Yeah, you know, the main thing is there's just a hype and a lot of stories around it. The track will tell us. On this stage, nobody knows what that car can do, what the road holding is like, and the power. They're not divulging the information. So basically, yeah, when they do their first runs, we'll have a close look up and see what's happening.
Thank you very much for your time. I hope you guys enjoy the race. All the best for BB Motorsport, and we hope to see a successful defense of that title. Thank you very much. Back to you guys. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Farney.
Thanks,
awesome
guys.
stuff there, man. And good to pick up on some of the team bosses, team principals out there as well. Those guys have got a busy day in the saddle as well, particularly BB Motorsport, who've got, I think, 4 cars running this year. It's great to see a massive input. I mean, we've got 84 competitors lined up here today if you run in the program that was allocated. But I think there were a couple of extra ones that came in at lastminute.com. There are also a couple of class changes for a couple of drivers too, which we'll pick up on throughout the morning and through into the racing, Arnie. But I've got to tell you something. I mean, after yesterday and the excitement we had at the end of the day with that incredible top 10 run, I'm pretty excited to see what's happening here. And I'm sure that Colin Hasty, who's down in pit lane, is also pretty excited to be here and be part of our team. Cole?
Greg, it's absolutely magnificent. We were talking about the weather just now. The earlier, I wasn't really a thunderstorm, it was just a quick coastal shower. Put the water down on the road, and there's, particularly in the start area, there's lots of rubber on the road here, and it's this is the warm-up area where they get the back tires hot, and the water sits on top of the rubber and on top of these stones, and it is slippery as hell. But there is a glimmer of hope because the sun is coming out. I know this because I've got a glint in my eyes. But going back to the driver's briefing, the drivers are having a group photograph now with all 84 odd of them. But in the driver's briefing, there are a couple of things that are important from a timing point of view and looking at the track limits. On the apex, the inside part of the corner where the guys are going through, they've got plastic poles. Now, those poles are actually pool noodles. There are no more pool noodles left in the Knysna area. And they're called policemen. And the idea is that they're there to keep the competitors on the road. If you hit a policeman on a practice run, you get a warning. If you hit and your time doesn't count at all for that practice run. If you hit a policeman during the race, then during the qualifying or the real run, a second time you get kicked out. In the qualifying and the run, you get a 2-second penalty, international rules. So the guys are going to look very carefully at following the route, particularly for somebody like Terence Marsh, who's brought his cross-country racing bucky here. But it's really going to be exciting in this run up the hill. Early on, some of the slower cars, and with respect to them, the more standard cars will be going up. They'll be on road tires, so they'll be able to, the wind from the cars will start drying the track. I expect, if there's no more rain, that by the time the second run comes around, that we'll be back onto dry tires. And then things start getting serious. Guys, things are starting to get ready. The cars are starting way down the end of the pit lane there. The standard cars are going. Arnie, Greg, it's going to be a fantastic day. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Colin. I'm really chuffed because he said there was a little coastal shower. I trust he had one as well.
Yeah, I hope so, because remember they are saving water down here, so he probably ran and jumped into the lagoon and had a little swim there. But needless to say, it looks clean and clear and ready to go.
Ready to go. I want to tell you that Colin he did some terrific work yesterday in the pits, and we're going to have exactly the same thing. It's so nice to have that insight into what is happening down there. Talking about
and a
insight.
completely different style too.
Very different era.
Yeah.
Let's take you back to Fani Skos, who's got one of the Jaguar ambassadors with him, Jacob Mashokwe.
Jacob here, Jaguar Simola Hillclimb, my first ever. I think it's a very, very, very special time for me to come here because it's 10 years of Jaguar Simola Hillclimb, and I'm here with the legend, Davi Olivier. Him and I will be walking around, adding some color, giving you a vibe, and obviously he'll be like bestowing me with some knowledge and teaching me about how it actually goes down at the Hillclimb. Davi, how are you doing, sir?
Yeah, no, we're great. It's nice to be here.
Okay, so first thing I want to ask, you think the weather's going to hold out?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit damp in the morning, but I think it'll probably, I won't say it'll clear up, I think it'll be drier towards the afternoon, and I think the guys are waiting for that.
Now, tell me something, Davi. This is something quite important. How do you get your mindset right to be able to participate in something like this? So what do you think the drivers are doing right now to hype themselves up and get themselves ready to take the title?
Listen, let me tell you something. A lot of the guys will tell you, no, I'm here for the fun. That's nonsense. They're all here to try and do something and even win against themselves and all that against the stopwatch. So two things, the car to get ready. You know, there's a lot of work and effort and money and a lot of late nights that goes into preparing these cars. But secondly, I think psychologically the guys, they're all very, very nervous now where they're sitting there getting ready to get into the car, the helmet, all of that. They know the road is wet, so there's probably a couple of guys that's not going to go out, waiting for the dry road to come, but they are nervous as hell. They're going to get in the car and they're going to get off the line, and it's probably going to be too much wheel spin and all of that, but they'll sort of like mindset-wise get themselves right towards the afternoon.
All right, I want to ask Davi something quite important before we let you go. I want to ask you something. Do you have any predictions after seeing the cars? You and I took a walk around the pits. Is there any firm favorites that you think would be doing quite well come the end of the day tomorrow?
Look, obviously we want the Jaguars to do well. They're the ones that pays the bills here, and you know, if it wasn't for them, I think the spectacle wouldn't have been as big as it is now. But there's quite a few very, very, very trick motor cars. To vouch on the outcome, I wouldn't put money on anything. There's lots of expectation and guys that spent a lot of money to bring cars specifically for this event. And no, I'm not going to put my name on anything.
There we go. The professionals can't even put money on this. So Jaguar SHC is the hashtag on Twitter and Facebook. Watch out for the Range Rover Sport, the SVR one, the Springbok one. We'll have Mini Dlamini, Bobby van Jaarsveld, as well as Sia Khaleesi jumping in that car.
Who's doing
so
all three?
for now, from Jacob and Davi, we're out. It's back to you guys in the studio. Ciao.
Thanks,
very
Jax.
much, boys.
Yeah.
It's, I'm really looking forward to seeing Sia Khaleesi because he's going to be going in that beautiful, as we described it yesterday, you'll see it again today, that Range Rover decked out in the most beautiful green and gold livery. It is a breathtaking car.
It's incredible what they've done, and it's great to see that brand getting behind the Springboks and doing a special Springbok edition. So you'll get to see that a bit later on. But I think right now it's pretty pertinent to see what you need to do to get up this hill and go fast. And there's no better man to take you through that. I managed to catch up with him on Thursday in a little F-pace and asked Andre Besaidenout to give us a few tips on what to do to get to the top of the hill in that record pace he set last year.
And by the way, Besaidenout is the man who holds the record here at 35.2. He blistered up here last year. And same thing yesterday. How was your underwear?
No, listen. Well, fortunately, I was driving, so thank
goodness. It wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad, yeah. I'm not as quick as he is, but let's find out from him what the greatest tips are to get to the top of the hill in the fastest time. So it's a massive welcome here to the 10th running of the Jaguar Simola Hillclimb. And in order to get up this hill, you need something relatively quick. Jaguar have given me this little F-Pace R Sport. Shouldn't be too much of an issue. But what I need to find now is someone that knows how to go up this hill relatively quickly. So let's go and have a look in pit lane and find out who that person might be. Fortunately, in the busy pit lane, we didn't have to go too far. Because right next to me here is the man who set the fastest time ever up this hill last year. Let's find out if he's available for 10 minutes and maybe he can show me a couple of things here at the Simola Hill Climb on where to park the car, where to put the car, and how to get up there as quickly as he did last year. Good to see you, bud.
Can you hear us down here?
Are you looking forward to this
I've lost
weekend?
my ears.
Really looking forward to it.
If you don't mind, come and join me on my F-pace and maybe just give me a few pointers on where to go and what to do to get this thing going as fast as we can.
Happy to do
up this hill.
I just want to know, we're driving a top-class Jaguar.
We are indeed.
Thank you very much.
Let's go for it. So the one cool thing about this car, sir, is a checkered flag mode. Dynamic mode. Let's put it in dynamic mode. Everything goes red. We're good to go.
Go for it, man.
All right, so let's take it up a hill and find out what this thing can do and where we need to go to make it go fast. You're heading into a bit of a tricky turn one.
Very, very difficult corner to get right. So you need to run into the corner fast. But again, there's some surprises here. There's a serious bump right over here where we are now.
Okay.
And that puts you to the outside. So you'll see everybody starts on the inside. When you hit the bump, the car just goes light and you automatically go to the outside.
Okay. You're kind of running in broad daylight all day long until you sort of get into that final run. And the most crucial run, you run out of track temperature first of all, and then you also run out of options in terms of the light, as you say.
You know, here the vision is good.
Yes.
Luckily, you can see this very well going into the corner. So there's no obstacle here and no excuse to get this one wrong.
Good.
Okay, we're coming up to the fastest part of the track now.
Yeah.
Probably 260 kilometers an hour. We're on the right-hand side. You can brake. The car handles beautifully. You go 2 gears down. That's the first one. This is the second one. You got it right on the apex, and Jaguar has placed a beautiful board over there where you aim at. Come out over here and you spot on the number.
Okay, so that wasn't too bad for a guy who talks about racing as opposed to doing the racing himself, eh?
Thanks to my day job. This is the scariest part of the track.
I want to pull over here for a reason, because as you said, it is the scariest part, and one of the reasons it's the scariest part is last year it went all wrong for Wilhelm in this corner. There were a couple of tyre barriers that were in the way, but you can see they've changed things up dramatically here.
Yeah.
Let's go and have a look at it, all right?
Thank you, let's do it.
Chatting about what we were just discussing in the car now, last year there were massive, well not massive, but there were big tyre barriers in the way, at least a meter high. And unfortunately, in the very last run, Wilhelm Bart had a big incident coming through here trying to catch your time and broke the whole front of his car, which of course affected him getting to the finish line in the time he wanted. This is a great innovation. Whoever thought a pool noodle was going to come into play as a policeman on the hill climb? Not me, that's for sure. But let me tell you something, I think that's a great initiative and it's going to work brilliantly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So from here, we've got a left, a right, and a left to go, and then it's to the line, sir.
Well, no, I've never stood here. It's the first time that I've actually stopped here. And the inclination is so large. Look how we're leaning back.
You're literally leaning.
You know, you're leaning back. You're going to run up that hill, you're going to be tired in 50 meters. So, no, this is an amazing experience to actually see it over here. And look at the town. You know, this is why the Simola Hillclimb is just so famous. Yeah. I mean, when people come here, they're exposed to the beauty of this part of our country, and everybody is amazed.
One more question which I've been dying to ask you. Last year you set an incredible time, sir. Have you done some development on the car? Are we going to expect something a bit quicker from you?
You know, there's always a little bit in reserve, but I'm an amateur racer. My philosophy has always been don't get ahead of yourself. Nobody knows how the day is going to be. There's rain predicted for tomorrow now. Who knows what Sunday is like. If the car feels good, if I feel good, I'll have a go, and maybe, just maybe, there's a 34 there.
Woo-wee! All right, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it from the king of the hill. That's the time expected on Sunday after the final run. Let's see whether or not we can hold him to it. I hope we can. I know that he says he's a gentleman racer and he's having fun. But when that visor goes down, so does the red mist. And when racing's in your blood, you can't ask for better than that.
.2 seconds last year, the man on the left-hand side in the navigator seat there clocked, and he was impressive yesterday. I love the fact that he says He's an amateur racer. You're right. Pull the other one,
all these guys are actually amateurs. They don't spend any time in their race
and
cars
no money
ever.
as well. Very little money.
Yeah.
Very little. It's all amateur. Yeah, right.
Listen, speaking of money being spent, I am absolutely blown away with the caliber of the field we've been given this year. With that F1 Gould arriving last year, it was a big talking point, and of course with Andre setting that incredible time, a lot of people were thinking, well, what the hell do we do to go and make a plan to get something to beat him? There's a few guys that have gone out to do that, and we're going to be running through those cars throughout the day. But one that comes to mind is basically right at the top of the list there, has got to be Franco Scribanti. I mean, he's gone out to Pikes Peak. He's found a Pikes Peak purpose-built Nissan GTR. It is a monster. I mean, he put a post out about it saying, this is my new baby and it doesn't have a name yet, and what are we going to call it? And I said to him, listen, it's all black. You're Italian. Nero comes to mind. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't get it. I mean, Italian for black is Nero, so go for it. That thing is going to be super impressive to watch off the line. I haven't actually seen it in the flesh yet. I've only seen videos.
I saw it this morning. It takes your breath away. I promise you. Actually, you stand in front of it and your mouth actually hangs open. It is remarkable. As we get some water supplies. Thank you. We'll take some off the roof just now when it rains. Thank you, Nadia. But the beauty of that car is you actually stand in front of it and you go, this looks like the Batmobile.
No, exactly. No, it's exactly that. It's straight out of Michael Keaton. I mean, you can picture Batman getting out of that car going, I'm Batman. And that's
scary.
It. So I hope he's changed his overalls and stuff, and then gone with the orange overalls. If he's all blacked out, he's definitely going to be the Dark Knight for this one.
When Nadia walked in here now, Nadia is our production assistant here on our broadcast. She said to her husband, Fani, I mean, that car looks funny. It's got a bra in the front.
No, exactly.
It's a woman's perspective.
It's very weird because a lot of guys that saw it for the very first time. I like what we're getting in our ears there, but the cool thing about it is the first time you look at it, you think to yourself, hang on a second, why is the rear wing on the front? Because it's as big as the rear wing, the one that's on the front of it. So there's no doubt about it that you're going to be seeing something completely unique here. That's the one.
Yeah.
Then we just run through the field.
There it is. There it is.
There it is.
I mean, that
exactly
thing
what we asked for.
Doesn't it from here look like a hammerhead shark with its mouth open?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a scary looking thing, this. It is just scary looking. I don't know how you get into that thing and think you're going to control it, because it looks like it's going to tell you what it wants to do.
I think that's pretty much how it goes. I think Franco's going to have his work cut out for him, but he has tested it at Swartkops. He's had a few runs at a couple of other circuits just to make sure the shakedown of the car is good to go. There is no doubt about it, it's going to be a contender. Wilhelm Bart, no doubt about, going to be up there as well, and hopefully going to be making up ground for what he did last time with a small mistake, as we spoke about in that insert with Andre Besaidnout. Besaidnout, as you heard, is feeling confident. He's already had a great run yesterday. Yes, he didn't quite get the Conqueror title of the Classic Car Friday. Franco's got one up on him. So already there's a little rivalry that's, I think, going to be looked to be the return of the favour and some retribution coming out of Besaidnout. Yeah, then just keep going down. I mean, you're picking up on Ferraris, you've got Formula One technology in that Gould, you've got Mark III Formula GTIs, you've got Formula Volkswagen. I mean,
and then the Contender brothers and the Jaguars, which we're looking forward to as well to see.
That is going to be a rivalry of note.
Out racers, two true blue racers who have raced on every surface everywhere in the world. Love to see the Jags in the hands of the two Contender.
No, and they're a special breed of Jaguar as well. If I just go to our sheets that were given to us, I mean, they're literally running. It's the F-Type SVR.
Yep.
So there are not a lot of them in the country, and I think the only two that are in the country at the moment are in the hands of Mark and Gavin Cronier. Mark Cronier, multiple South African rally champion. Of course, our representative at World Rallycross 2 years ago as well, did an incredible job at World Rallycross. No. And Gavin Cronier, an ex-A1 Grand Prix test pilot. He was number 2 seat to Gugu. Gugu was number 2 seat, of course, to Adrian Zaag, who was our man at A1 Grand Prix. You don't get better than that. And when they get into any race car, I mean, Gavin Cronier in the Endurance Championship in the Ginetta has literally lit up every single circuit they've gone to and set outright lap records at every track. Expect more of the same here in that road class, because remember, Jag have come here and they've said it's our event. We don't want Richard Ritz on top of the podium again. Yeah. And we're bringing some top guns to take him on.
And then, of course, the Croniers also have off-road experience, which I think here, if you just it was very interesting for me to see Besaidnout, who'd never taken a walk up the hill.
Yes.
And to have his perspective on looking down and understanding how steep it is. Cross-country, or the off-road boys, have a different perspective on things. They read the road as well, don't they? There's a different look at it.
And when we spoke about it in the opening link, we talked about the stones coming through the tar and the ability of the tires to actually grab that traction with a slight undulated surface. It's not a smooth tar surface like they'd have at a circuit. And going back to that thought of what you said there with the off-road guys, look at Graham Nathan yesterday.
Yeah.
Graham Nathan is an ex-motocross champion. That's where he started his career. He didn't start in saloon cars or karting. He went from motocross straight into saloon cars. So when you see a couple of guys who've done that transition in the past, and I see it on a few occasions in the commentary I do around the country and around the world, a guy that's on a motocross bike has no traction because the bike is moving underneath you the entire time. It's arguably the most difficult motorsport to try and control. Now, if you've got that kind of a background and you can put it into practice on a circuit like this, you're in the pound seats.
Absolutely. It's such an important point that one sometimes loses sight of. So there's the Springbok Range Rover. We just saw the bottom part of it there. We're probably going to have a nice look at it. There it is. Man, that thing takes your breath away. Supercharged 5-litre V8, and it develops, if you're sitting down, 423 kilowatts and 700 newton meters of torque. I mean, it is a scary thing. It goes from 0 to 100 in 4.5 seconds. Here we go. Let's watch it go.
Let's see if it does that in 4.5 seconds. Coming to the line there, I believe that should be Sia Khaleesi behind the wheel of it as well, if I'm not mistaken, the Springbok captain. And he's come here for Jaguar as opposed to going to South America for the Jaguares.
Yeah. And I can quite frankly understand that.
No, 100%. I would rather be here.
Yeah, no, me too. No, me too. Listen to it.
Oh. That's pretty spectacular, I've got to say.
Let's put some lead in your pencil.
It's got a special exhaust that's basically been set up for that car. It's got Pantone green, as you can see, the Springbok green. It's got the official Springbok logo on the side. All the yellow detailing on that as well, as you can see. Not only on the brake calipers, but inside the car. All the stitching is yellow. There's the contrast stitching is yellow. The seat panels and on the door panels, you've got the Springbok emblem on the starter button. I mean, that's just the way to go. Anybody that's a Springbok nut, and I know there's a few of you out there, this might be an option, hey? Maybe Christmas.
And if you're watching us overseas, you may not know, but the Springboks is our national rugby team and one of the big sports in South Africa. It is one of the top sports in the country, and that's quite clearly why this is such an eye-grabber. With great respect, not even Brian Abana has been that quick in green and gold.
I have to add to that sentiment in terms as he crosses the finish line there. A nice run from him. But I'm going to say that probably motorsport is the biggest sport in the country. Only because rugby is a religion. That's what we take in South Africa.
Fair
it's
enough.
That big.
I hear you.
So we've got that one as an example. But there's a whole bunch of examples other than that SVR we spoke about. We've got the magnificent F-Pace SVR. You've got the XE there as well. This is an incredible little car as well. 3-litre sport there. Brilliant that Jaguar have brought their entire range out here.
I love the back of that car.
Yeah.
Patrick. Beautiful look. That it's got a sort of truncated boot and that back bumper. Just everything on this car looks fast.
Now, there's a whole bunch of media that have been given these cars to play, and they're doing the Art of Performance tour, which, of course, circulates the country. And a couple of the media guys that have sort of jumped in there, of course, Marius Roberts being one of them. Hollywood himself is in the house. Ashley Oldfield is here as well. And if we look at the current crop of media as well, you've got Mark Jones.
Patrick, can you hear me?
You've got Raymond Lethern. You've got the likes of Alan Stratton and Franco Turon, Jeanette Koch-Kritzinger. And then, of course, we've got all three of Jaguar's influences here today. Not only Sia Khaleesi, but we've got Minnie Dlamini, who is a magnificent-looking young lady, absolutely beautiful. And
guys, I've got the side pod off of the Gould if you want to have a quick check look at it.
So not a bad person to have on the Jaguar team. And then if you're a current Afrikaans singing sort of fan, Bobby van Jaarsveld might ring a bell.
One or two bells, actually.
Exactly.
And well, look at how wet it is up at the top of the hill. They've had another squall up there, which we've down at the bottom here, just about 1,900 meters from there. It's not had it's wet up there now. So that's interesting, and that may change things as well as we go along.
Well, we're down in pit lane with Colin. He's got a little bit of information as to how that track surface is changing, as well as some information from the pit lane. Let's head down to Colin Hastie.
For us, just to get an idea of some of the cooling and aero on this car. It is a proper ground effect car, and it is designed only to go up hills very, very fast. So it's got a tiny little radiator, and it runs for about 2 minutes on the track. The exhaust comes out of the engine here, goes forward and comes back. which allows the diffuser, which gives you the underbody grip to start here, and you can see the diffuser that goes up here. This is a beautiful, beautiful machine, and of course the obligatory carbon fiber, there's unobtainium in here. It is absolutely a magnificent piece of wood, of kit. But the plastic on the tires, these are special Hillclimb tires that are super soft. They don't need heaters. And the reason you put this cling wrap on it is as they move the car around the pit lane, you don't want to get the tiny stones stuck into the rubber, because it's so soft and they'll rip everything up. Greg, they got to put the rest of the kit on here, but I thought that was a cool, interesting little bit of kit on this magnificent car. We expect this thing to do a 34 seconds up this hill, which is very, very close to 200 kilometers an hour average speed. Unbelievable. Cheers, Greg.
Exactly that, Cole. That's the frightening thing. I mean, last year he did 192.7, I think, was his average lap, his average speed up the hill. So you chuck another second at that, and you can at least take 6 or 7 Ks off the clock and add it to it. So there's no doubt about it. A 200 K an hour average might be up for grabs here today or tomorrow. I think they're going to keep a little bit in the bag and up their sleeves until tomorrow. Nothing's going to be shown just yet in terms of, from the Ace of Spades yesterday, Franco Scamanti. He's going to hold back maybe a little bit, just to get that car all up and running. But speaking of up and running, our first cars are actually out on the circuit as we've been speaking. So it's been phenomenal to see not only Jacques Bauer and Bruce Meyer in his Volkswagen Polo, and of course all these guys running in the A1 class, but now you've got the Toyota Conquistador. He's out there with William Bauer behind the wheel of that one. Jacques and William, of course, from the same family, one in the Escort and now one in the Toyota Conquest.
That Conquest dates back to 1987. It's a 1.6 litre engine and 4 cylinders, and it's piling it on at the moment. It's going nicely.
Heading up to the top of the hill, we're going to quickly go to our official intro here for the 10th running of the Jaguar Simola Hillclimb. We'll be back soon to take you through a couple of the runs from the top, or from the bottom to the top.
This is the King of the Hill, the most prestigious title in the world of hill climb events, and it is day 2, practice session number 1, and a whole host of cars have already hit it. We've got a split screen for you because all the cars will be doing their first qualifying run today. This is the first look-see, so don't expect these cars to go completely and utterly nuts, but at the same time, as we watch the Audi Quattro of Francois van Tonder and Paul Munro in his Porsche GT3, don't expect them to go completely haywire, but this is a look-see, and just feel your way up, particularly in the wet.
I've got to say, that's one of my favorite sayings in the entire world. Drive it like you stole it. Thank you, Graham McLeod. That is exactly what I expect you to do in that 350Z of yours, buddy. Or it's a 370Z, I beg your pardon. It's the 370Z, and it's actually the Spider option. It's the ragtop option of that 370Z. So he heads to the top of the hill. Maybe he'll drop the top if the rain stops, eh?
I hope so. I hope so. Just to ruffle his hair. Actually, he's wearing a helmet. There won't be any hair ruffling. But it is interesting for me that the second part of the run is wetter than the first part. Here's a bit of mist up at the top there too. Conditions are changing. Greg, how does that change car setup, if at all?
Look, I think in the road cars you don't really have a lot to play with, other than if you've got an electronic settings like some of these incredible road cars have got. If you don't have that option, you've literally got to go out with what you've got in the car and do the best you can. We've got a beautiful BMW Z4M making its way up the top there as well.
Feroz Ibrahim.
Yeah, Feroz Ibrahim in that machine. And just after him, we should have Pete Potgieter lining up in an M2 competition, if I'm not mistaken. Oh no, that'll be Gennaro. That's Gennaro Bonafide. So there is a contender as well. We're going to start mentioning guys as they get into it. Remember, we've got a huge array of drivers here coming from all forms of motorsport, not only professional racing drivers, but guys who are just average, enjoyable, and here to do it. But as you heard from everybody who's spoken to us today so far, in terms of team managers, principals, and drivers, there's no one here to have fun. No. They're all here to win.
See for serious.
Exactly.
Bonafide, of course, has a list of achievements as long as your and my arm put together. He's there in that BMW M2 competition. That's the 3-litre. Beautifully turned out as well in those typical BMW motorsport colours.
Alfa Romeo will be Pit Potgieter, so they're running just slightly out of our suggested. In fact, that's not Pit Potgieter, that's Pierre Bester. There's 2 Alfa Romeos there. Potgieter didn't go out. Maybe he's just hanging tough until there. But I did see him here. He's definitely walking around. He's in the Giulia QV, which is also an incredible looking little motor car. Talk about the man that's on track at this stage, Gennaro Bonafide. You were mentioning the amount of titles he's got. I think it's about 7 South African titles he's got. He's a production car champion. He's a GTC champion. He's a Polo Cup double champion, I think. So certainly knows what to do. Speaking of champions, there's another man who's just made his way onto the track, a multiple saloon car champion, and of course last year's King of the Hill in the road class. And that is Richard Rutz.
Mr. Rutz
awesome
himself.
Machine.
That's the Nissan GTR R35. It's a 2018 model, but it is flying along at the moment. There's some headlights flashing for you from the Alpha as it goes over the finish line. And here is Rutz. Look at that. He was throwing that around a little there. I think those noodles had a little scare there for a second or two.
I think this may be the second of those Alphas that didn't quite make it out. Let's have a look at 76. Yeah, that's Pete Potgieter. So he's now decided to make his way onto the track. What you'll see is a couple of guys may just have a look-see before, as you said, before they go and decide to climb into that queue. And if they don't get into the queue right. Speaking of the queue, lining up right now is first of our Jaguar I-Paces. Now this is a machine, and look who's behind the wheel of it.
Yeah.
You don't get better than Michael Briggs to possibly give you your first run on an I-Pace up the top of this hill.
Briggs, of course, also multiple champion in very many different forms of South African motorsport, and particularly saloon cars. He knows the trade inside out. That's an interesting line. He was keeping that right in the middle of the road. They didn't want to take any chances early on.
The I-Pace basically giving you a 294 kilowatt option, 696 newton meters of torque, 0 to 104.8 seconds, and the peace of mind with an 8-year, 160,000 K warranty and a battery warranty, and a 2-year, 34,000 K service interval. So, you know what? As an electric vehicle, this is something to keep an eye on, because remember we have got an electric class here, and both Briggs and his good friend Sean Watson-Smith, who were arch rivals in their days in the BMWs and Opels they used to race, are also going to be taking on Dion Joubert in the third of those I-Pace cars. So that'll be fun. There
he is. Speaking of Mr. Joubert, there he goes. By the way, Richard Rutz, the first clocking, we've had under 50 seconds already, and Gennaro Bonafide just over 52 seconds. So as we were saying, I know it's important to stress to you that the boys are not going to take the gloves off early on. This is this first feel your way around and see which are the best lines, particularly in the conditions at the moment, because it is wet out there at the moment.
I've got to give a heads up to all the guys that are looking to buy an I-Pace from Jaguar, as we got a little bit of a beast lining up and heading off the line there. Just going back to the I-Pace, traveling the country as I do on numerous occasions, and we're speaking of an Audi out there at the moment. I think that'll be Udo de Burgess who's making his way onto the circuit. Just look at that, 72. Yes, it is. He has moved up to Class B5, which is probably why he just took a little bit longer to get onto the track than what he did. But going back to the comment I've got about I-Pace, if you are heading down to Durban, and most people on the trip down to Durban do the natural thing and turn left at Harry Smith to pull into that magnificent stop they've got there. The one thing that really caught my eye is Jaguar have an I-Pace charging facility there.
I was blown away. We were on our way down to the Mid-Mile Mile, and we stopped there, and there it was, and I thought, the future has arrived.
It is. That's exactly it. And I saw it at Isle of Man last year. I mean, at Isle of Man, every single gas station you get to, or petrol station you get to, there is a charging point for an I vehicle, which is phenomenal. And remember, they run. There's an I category at Isle of Man. There's Formula E now. Who's coming? So the future's here, and Jaguar are right up the front of it.
Talk about some of the legends of the sport here. Sean Watson-Smith, another one of the men who's got an impressive list of performances on his CV when it comes to motor racing. They really have turned out in their droves from, as we say, all walks of motorsport.
And it's phenomenal. I mean, these guys are all ex-saloon car champions in their own rights. They've all had oodles of time and oodles of experience. And speaking of oodles of experience, here we go. Stand by for the Cronje battle. Mark is the first of them to hit the road. This is the SVR, and that SVR is a beast of note. I mean, we spoke about it a little bit earlier on, but just to give you a couple of little indications, it's a supercharged 5-litre, 423 kilowatts and 700 newton meters of torque. Top speed, 322 kilometers an hour. I'd like one of those, please, just to have it going. Just to take it up the hill. Mark, if you've got some time, just give me one run. That's all I need.
Greg's agent has given him clearance. He can go up.
That is proper cool. Okay, it's the first time we've seen that car in full flight with Mark Cronje. Now, as I said, Mark Cronje, multiple rally champion, a little bit of off-road trucking here and there, and of course, South Africa's representative at World Rallycross for the last 2 rounds of that championship down in Cape Town. So definitely a man who knows how to get a car up the hill. But you can see also, oh, there you go, the first policeman's been hit, and it was all about Mark Cronje. Cronje will get 2 seconds for that. He goes second quickest behind Richard Roots, but that'll be another 2 seconds to that time. And his time is a 49.694, take him to 51.694, and that still keeps him in third place, by the way. That's incredible.
There you go. We knew that Cronje was going to take, well, both of them. Well, they won't take any prisoners. That is for absolutely certain. Up next, Jean van Rensburg. He's in the F-Type SVR, and then Gavin Cronje is lining it up as well. So here we go. Jean van Rensburg.
Yeah, he's at the start line. Gav already making his way up to the top of the hill, so looking pretty tasty. He's in the gold, or call it gold member, I suppose, hey?
Yeah, it's not far wrong. Not far wrong at all.
Not gold finger, but gold member. Because it's Jaguar. It has to be. Got to run with the Austin Powers theme here. That F-Type R is a beast of a car. And Davy Olivier actually was behind the wheel of it 2 seasons ago. And I think finished up second on the podium behind Rechot 2 seasons ago. So our pit lane consultant, who of course is there with Jacob Mashukwa today, we've got Fani Skaltz in pit lane, and we've got our fourth and the most cleverest or cleverer man in the world. Colin Hasty, he'll be down in pit lane giving us a little bit of insight too. But it's great to see these cars now getting into full flight and showing us what the capabilities are, even though we're in tricky conditions. Looking at the timing so far, as we're waiting for this car to go, I think there may be, the reason they've stopped is they've got to go and replace that policeman that Cronje hit before they send the next car up. So Jean will just have to wait there. But it is Richard Roots already into the 49.2s. Now, 49.2s, just to give you an indication, as of yesterday, a 49.2 would have placed Richard Roots 7th overall in the Classic Conqueror. And that's a stock standard road car.
Just like that. Just like that.
So, yeah, I think Reggie's up for it. Mark Cronje and Gavin definitely going to be in for a bit of a run for their money at the top of the hill. Gavin, not quite as quick as what I thought. But as I said, I think a lot of them just taking it very easy right now. Michael Briggs doesn't seem to have that theory. In that I-Pace, an electric car, just outside the top 5 so far this morning.
So this is how it's running as we speak. Richard Roots with that first sub 50 second clocking of the day. Then Mark Cronje, Marius Roberts with a 51.5. Gennaro Bonafide. Then Ashley Oldfield impressing there with a run of 52. Mike Briggs, Pierre Bester, Gavin Cronje, Sean Watson-Smith, and Gordon Nicholson. That rounds out the top 10 at the moment.
Gordon Nicholson's in the i8. It's the hybrid from BMW, so also sort of in that class of electric vehicles. And not a bad run there from that I-Pace. The man that has changed classes, Udo de Burgess, is down in 14th. He's now running in B5. He was originally entered the 72 car in the A4 category, but they've changed that up due to the fact that I think he's got a couple of modifications, and you cannot have any modifications on your road car if you want to enter the road car category. So he's had to change things around a little bit there. Nice to see that we've there's confirmation of it. It's all about Richard Roots, Mark Cronje, and Marius Roberts at this stage. Hollywood is a very, very capable driver, let me tell you something. And if you watch him on Ignition TV, the kind of things he does in motor cars is pretty impressive. He's been out with me on a few occasions in a race car as well. We've actually raced against each other and raced in different categories. So you put him into a car, and any car, he's going to get that red mist very quickly. Yeah. And of course, particularly when he's playing around in a brand that says that racing is in their blood. Racing is in his blood, there's no doubt about it.
I'm sure he raced out of the womb, I have no doubt about it. He's one of those. He just couldn't wait to get onto the tarmac. So as we have just a little bit of a hold up, let's go back down to Colin, who is in pit lane. Cole, who you got for us?
looks like we've lost audio there with that interview with Sparkle, who of course is Mr. Sparks himself, who handles the COC. He's the man who's going to control everything today, make sure that no one gets out of hand, no one causes any problems. And when people like Mark Grenier hit the policeman, they get that little 2-second penalty. It hasn't been given to him yet.
Hasn't been added on, yeah.
So I don't know if they picked that up, but I'm sure that the timing monitor will eventually make that correction, and Grenier will drop from second, probably to about, I would say, 5th or 6th. So it's not going to affect him too badly. But Colin, it looks like we've got that audio sorted out, so back down to you, Col. Thanks, bud. We're just doing a little adjustment here because our timing monitor from yesterday has changed font, and it's a slightly smaller font than what we were getting. So we got top 15 now as opposed to top 10, but it is quite small, the font that we're playing with. But we'll make a plan, as we just have. We had to make a plan as well for that incredible mic stand that my good friend here has got. I like your mic stand, mate.
Yeah, well, it's the latest in technology.
I
It
can
is
see
the
that.
latest in technology. It's about the only technology I can handle, actually.
You know what they normally say is, if you're a rookie racer and it's your first race ever, they normally take some of that bunting tape and chuck it on the back of your car. So we're not going to say it's his first broadcast because clearly he's done this before, once or twice.
So we're back up and racing. John van Rensburg is the next man up as they put those policemen back, because I thought that was brilliant from you yesterday, Gregory. Gregory said those are not policemen, they pool leasemen, because they are pool noodles after all. It was a nice line. And van Rensburg, let's see what sort of line he takes. Straight up, keeps that white line right underneath the badge of the vehicle. And let's see how tight he takes it into this left-hander.
I just want to let our crew know while we're chatting here. It looks like we might have picked up a couple of leaks out of this roof, guys. So I just want to make you aware of it. There is a little bit of leaks coming out of the roof here, but we'll keep an eye on that and make sure that it doesn't get into, you see what I'm saying, it's dripping all over here. But we wanted to make sure that none of the technology gets hit by that. Right, so yeah, into the thick of it now. Have a look. That's our first shot of that magnificent Shelby. Should be Paige Lindenberg in the Super Snake, making her way to the top. Now she'll be joined by her dad Peter. The two of them not participating too much this year in South Africa, other than the Hillclimb. And what they are concentrating on is actually an international historic tour. They've gone to participate in their old Daytona Shelbys. And both those cars have actually been sent across to Europe. Their first event is at Spa-Francorchamps, but their first official event today, or of this season, for South Africa will be, of course, here at the Hillclimb. And you're going to see them in the Shelby South Africa Super Snake, and you're going to see them... well, Peter, when he gets to the line, this is the second of the Super Snakes.
Yeah.
This one, I think, is being piloted by Charles Needham. But behind that, if I look down pit lane, I can't see it right now, but I think in pit lane at some point we expect to see the Savage Ranger 660. That's a Ford Bucky. 660 horsepower Ford Bucky, just to let you know.
Isn't that thing raced last year, didn't
Yes,
it?
it
Yeah,
did.
that thing is absolutely scary. I mean, it is just scary. It's off the chart.
So we've got Jacques Wheeler. I'm just ticking off as they come through there. I didn't see Marius Draper. Giles was missing as well, clearly. And we had Paige Lindenberg and, of course, Charles Needham. Next up, I think I can hear the soothing sounds of another styled Bucky, if I wasn't mistaken.
Yeah, you're right. This is this is the Nissan, I think.
Terence Marsh. That'll be Terence Marsh in that one. But just before him, I also think I saw none other than Johan Pretorius. There he is, Johan Pretorius, out there in the AMG GTR. He, of course, is a podium already. He's at a podium. He's at second place yesterday in Classic Car Friday. Marsh! Oh,
Missed it just a little there at the start,
That
but
is
that
so
thing,
good.
oh, that off-road vehicle. How nice it is to have these lads here, because this is not something that we've seen a lot of, is the off-roaders making their way onto the tarmac and trying to see how hard they can push their vehicles. Because remember, these are vehicles that, honestly, with great respect, they're not made for top speed. These guys are made to have endurance, but they can certainly wangle it so that they get more out of the vehicle.
listen, I know that Terence Marsh's Nissan, I think it's the Navara that this car is based on, has a 0 to 100 of about 3.5 seconds. So it has got a great turn of pace. There goes a very powerful Bucky.
There goes Lindenberg now.
Yeah, the Savage Ranger 660. It's 660 horsepower in that car. A big car to throw around though, and you can see him getting sideways. Lovely stuff. Oh man, this is going to be a good day.
But when Peter battles with it like that, it looked like someone had let a shark loose in the cockpit there.
Loving every aspect of what we've seen so far today. Remember, this is practice 1 here for the Jaguar Simola Hillclimb. It's the 10th running of this incredible event, and great to have the likes of Jaguar back on board. Joining them this year, of course, our Castrol Edge. We've got Simola, as always. We've got Universal Healthcare supplying us our medical facility today, and looking after our timing is Bell & Ross. So phenomenal to have all our sponsors here, and they are loving every aspect of this event so far. That's a very loud Mazda Rotary. I have to just assume from the volume on that car, the Mazda Rotary there of Renault's Skippers.
I'm right here next to the window. That car does not sound like the engine was manufactured in 1978. There it is. Look at that thing. Imagine some guy drives up to you and comes and does a delivery with that thing at your shop.
The one cool thing is I can say he's got the best coloured car in the whole of this field, because my little Suzuki Vitara is in Hulk green, and I'm loving that he's gone with a similar option. So let's keep an eye on him. Remember, with a Mazda Rotary engine behind this little Mazda Bucky, rotary engines are pretty spectacular, and on a straight line, there's not a lot of cars that'll outgun you from robot to robot. But he's got to find a special line here up the 1.9 Ks, 153 meters of elevation, to see what he can do. Now here is a big contender.
This is Johan de Bruin, and no, I beg your pardon, it's not. That's
no,
number 49. Yeah, Davy Hubert.
From Cape Town, and just to give you a bit of insight on him, initially the outright lap record holder in this car at Killarney International Raceway. He was only betted about 2 months ago by Stuart White, who, as you know, has just gone and signed with Sauber F1 as part of their development team. And he was in a Ginetta G57 at the Endurance Championship there, the Campos 600. And for the first time, Davi's 109.6 was betted by 3 seconds by Stuart White, a 106.4. That is an incredible lap time around Killarney.
So this is the Exige. It's the Honda 2.4 2004 model, and next car off the line there as well. So they are coming at us thick and fast at this stage.
That's Rick Leroux. Yeah, Rick Leroux in
BMW.
the 325 IS. So Shadowline boys and fans out there, you've got a nice little representation here from Leroux. Leroux comes out of the Bridgestone BMW Car Club Racing Series, which is a Gauteng-based racing series for BMWs only, and all run on Bridgestone tyres. But he, of course, has won that championship on occasion, and he's now piloting this little 325 IS of his up the hill.
It's one of the best cars I ever had. Honestly,
it's a good car.
One of the best cars I've ever had. Beautiful handling. It really does handle absolutely spectacularly.
Nico Rutz out there in his Conquistador as well. Of course, this is a race option of that Conquest. So what we'll see is different options in the field. We've already seen a Conquest go up there, but it was kind of a more standard option of that car.
Here's Ricky Giannocaro in the Lamborghini 5.2 Super Trofeo. That is a beautiful car as well.
Got to tell you that if Addison Maloney arrives here a bit later on, our youngest motoring journalist in the world, that is her favourite car because its nicknamed is Ferdinand.
There
the
you
Bull.
go. There you go.
She's a big fan of Ricky, and of course actually was part of their team for 3 seasons racing in production cars at G&H Transport racing team. So Ricky is certainly looking forward to this weekend. He had a bit of a big incident at the previous round of Extreme Festival, so there was a lot of damage to the back end of the car after he was taken out unceremoniously by one of the BMWs. But you can see they've done an incredible job at G&H Transport to get that car sorted, dialed in, and it looks like it's up for a good run to the top of the hill.
See, Henny Bosman in his Chev got underway just a little while ago. The action here at the start line is fast and furious. Guys are also laying down a lot of rubber here at the start, which is going to make it very interesting later on in the day, and that's exactly what the faster lads would be hoping for, is that there's lots of rubber laid down there so they can get good grip and rip it off the line.
That looks like Paulus Franken in the Volkswagen Polo GTI. He, of course, a seasoned campaigner when it came to the Falcon Polo Cup and Engine Polo Cup in its previous livery. This is Marcel Angel, all the way from Cape Town, in the Autohaus Angel. And Marcel Angel just battling to get off the line there a little bit in that 458. That's a GT3 spec car. It not only runs in the G&H Transport Extreme Supercars, but also down in Cape Town in the Sports and GT category there, as well as with his son, in the Endurance Championship. So it's a multiple used vehicle, a multiply used vehicle, I should say. Nice to see. Corvette. Chevy fans stand by. That is a beast of a machine.
That's number 44, Henny Bosman in the Corvette ZR1 5.8 litre 8-cylinder. That is one big car.
Yeah, very similar machinery that was under the bonnet yesterday of Richard Evans's one, the Corvette Stingray we saw yesterday. An incredible car, but that is a beast of a machine, and to try and get that up the hill is going to be hard, let me tell you. With that amount of power and the slippery conditions, to get the power down is going to be the difficult part.
And you've got to be very, very careful to make the right decisions at the right time. It's all about timing with that particular vehicle as well, although it's like that for every single one of the riders out there. Let's not make it as if one has it harder than the other.
I'm not quite sure which of the Americans this is, but it's definitely the first of them, the 40 car. Oh no, that's Steve Kimpton. It's not the American drivers just yet, but we have got 4 V8 Masters entered this weekend. Steve Kimpton is one of them. Kai Goddard, of course the son of our chief man downstairs here, Jeff Goddard, and his good friend Dave Smith from the US of A have come out here to run their very first time in a V8 Master. There you go, there's Kai.
Goddard, yeah.
And the two Americans, he's from Phoenix, Arizona. His good friend Dave Smith is from California, Southern California. And the two of them here for the very first time, had a chat to them in the studio just before you got here. They are blown away by the support at this event and how many people are out here, and the fact that you can do a run almost every hour, as opposed to when you go to Pikes Peak and you got to wait nearly 3 hours before you just get your one run in. So that's why they're here.
That's one of the beautiful things about this too, is that you've got so many runs as our next competitor is off the line and flying along, and you've got this the road through Simola, the golf estate, back down so quickly as well, and it is so well controlled and it runs like clockwork, unless of course Mark Grenier takes out one of our policemen.
That man there is Dave Smith. He's in the third of those V8 Masters. Those are purpose-built APVs built down in Cape Town. And they all run 357 blocks in this. They're all exactly the same chassis, exactly the same wheels and tires. The only difference that you're allowed on the car is the livery. So you can have a yellow stripe or a blue stripe or a pink stripe and any other color to complement it, but you're not allowed to change anything else on those cars. Right behind him, though, is an ex-V8 supercar champion in Franco Di Matteo. So V8 Masters followed by a V8 supercar could be a bit of a concern there. And I think what Dave Smith is going to have to do is call on all his NASCAR experience, because he's an ex-NASCAR driver, to try and stay ahead of the V8s behind him.
That's Wade van Zummeren, who's away in the Nissan VR38. Oh, 4.1, you can hear that firing all the way up the hill here. The crowd are loving it. And why not? It's that canary yellow flying along. Look at him. Oh, bent it a little bit out of shape there.
Don't worry. You don't need to worry about Wade van Zummeren. If he gets it out of shape, that's probably his driving style, because he is a 3-time South African drifting champion.
Ah, there you go.
And he drifted in this car as well. So having that massive V8 underneath it and the amount of power that comes out of that car, he knows exactly what to do if it gets out of shape. And you'll probably see him sliding a little bit to try and get used to the conditions that are out there. It won't be a problem for him if this car gets completely sideways, because he'll probably just keep the foot flat and bury it through all these S-turns.
Francois Cowley battling in that BMW to get away. He's got a Ford engine in there, in that little 3 Series body, and it's some really good stuff.
Nicely done here from Wade van Zummeren. Finishes his first run. We're just waiting for our timing monitor just to reboot and give us a little bit of an update.
Brent Watts here, sorry,
yeah, no
Brent Watts at the bottom here waiting to get going, and yeah, we haven't had an update on the timing as of yet as Watts gets away. That's a good start from him. He's chosen that very solid line on the inside and kept it about 2 or 3 feet away from the right-hand curb.
Skyline GTS there. That's kind of, I think it's either R32 or it might be the R31 or R32 on that option. 32 now stepping up to the line, of course, is car 32. That's Boerta Krauser. He's in the Noble, built down in Port Elizabeth, the M400. Also a very, very good car. And you can see maybe just a little bit rusty off the line there with a bit of black smoke, but that'll just be the engine getting itself sorted out with conditions down here. Should be used to coastal conditions, having been built down in PE. Let's see whether or not he can get that car to run. If he gets it to run, in fact, if I'm not mistaken, our pit lane consultant, Davy Olivier, has still got one of these and races it on occasion.
Ah, there you go. So it's a beautiful looking vehicle as well, that Noble Ford V6.
So Boerta Krauser we've had up there, he's looking good. I haven't seen Stuart Kidgel or Adrian Dalton make their way to the line. Oh, in fact, there we go.
Stuart.
There's
He's
Kidgel
just left
on
now.
cue. Thank you very much.
Alfa Romeo 3.7 GTR Ultima. Oh, look at this. I mean, that is just another one of those vehicles that you just go, that is an absolute beaut.
It's a purpose-built time attack car as well, for your info, Oni. He runs it not only on Hillclimb events like this, but he also runs it down at Desi's Raceway in his time attack events and the ones in Cape Town. So it's certainly a car that will hold its own. And don't be surprised if it makes it into the top 10 shootout.
So the fastest time still at this point, Rechard Roots at 49.291, and Franco De Matteo slots in at 49.4 into second spot. Mark Renier is still there, and we're waiting to see if he is going to get that penalty. We'll understand in a second or two what the latest is there. Number 25 is on the door of Yakunel in the Nissan R35 GTR. That's 3.8 litres waiting to be unleashed there.
And this is a car that is really good. We actually saw it debut 3 weekends ago at the Extreme Festival. He was part of Scribanti Racing Stable. And of course at that stage Franco was in that magnificent Porsche 997 GT1 that he's got. And that's the car that I thought he was actually going to pilot up the hill. And then he said to me, no. My friend here, Yakunel, has found me something special at Pikes Peak. And we all know what that's going to be. and I'm like, I know we're getting into sort of like the 25s and 20s, but we're about to turn the page, and I can't wait to turn that page, but to see those top cars in action, it's going to be amazing.
So the last few before we get there, it's Darren Goodsman, Jody van Zimeren and Aldo Scrivanti, and you'll know that there's some very serious races further back. Not that any of these lads are not. The vehicles have been turned out absolutely. What I do appreciate it is how beautiful they look as well.
Yeah, no, they've gone all out. They realize just how spectacular this event is and how important it is to keep their sponsors happy and ensure that they look the part. Never mind. A number of occasions when I've been coaching kids as an ex-school teacher, as Scribanti lines up there, that is Aldo Scribanti in his S4. I've always said to them, you know what, if you look the part, half the battle is won.
Yeah.
So when you walk on the pitch, if your shirts are tucked in, your socks are up, and you're looking the part, and everyone looks the same, half the battle is won. You don't have to worry about trying to, outgun everybody else. So that is exactly what half of these teams have done. They arrive here with a car in pristine. That's Jody Van Zimeren. Okay, I beg your pardon. I got the two Van Zimerens wrong. I didn't say that it was Mart first, or Wade. That's Jody Van Zimeren. That's another one of the youngsters coming out of border towing in East London, and also a multiple champion in his own right in the drifting category.
Well, now, he has just lit this crowd up. He's lit them up because if you were taking a nap in the pavilion, you're now awake.
When those two Nissans pop and squeak, you know they can probably hear you at Plettenberg Bay. Silver Crest, that is the next machine up onto the circuit, and that should be, if I'm not mistaken, the Subaru or the Evo. I'm just trying to pick up on who that is in that machine, because we are running slightly out of
slightly out of sync. You're quite right.
So I think it may be Tanya Watts or Anton Cronier. I just want to get a number on that car. Stepping up now should be the third of the border towing cars.
This is Jody Van Zimeren at the line here now, wearing number 22 under starter's orders. He's away as well. And by the way, I must tell you, Greg, Kai Goddard slotted into 52.336, which at this stage gives him 7th spot. That's a good run.
That's a great run. So all three of the Van Zimerens are here. You've got Jody, Wade, and Martin Van Zimeren. As I said, the big beasts are going to be Wade and Martin. Jody basically going to just take it easy, and a slightly detuned version of those Nissan Skyline GTRs that the Van Zimerens like to use. Speaking of Nissan, here's a little GT3. The Nismo option here on this car will be something to watch out for. And I think you're going to be seeing a relatively good time out of this machine too, as it heads to the top of the hill for the first time. Should be, if I'm not mistaken, Edric Zweers behind the wheel of that car. If it is the right car, yes it is. I think the GT3 is being piloted there by Edric Zweers. 20 is the number. Yeah, 100%. Yep. There you go. Heading to the top of the hill. That man, Bandit Signs, actually did a nice launch for this car about 3 months ago, just before they got all the preparation sorted out. And I think he's going to be a top contender here.
Here's number 13. This is Tom Barrett in the Lotus with a Toyota engine, the Lotus 7.
Purpose-built little race cars here. These Birkin 7s are magnificent to drive. Rear-wheel drive. Very, very responsive. Almost a one of the most responsive race cars you can get into. I've driven 3 or 4 options of these actually in the Lotus Challenge that runs here in South Africa. I haven't actually, the only one I haven't driven is the turbocharged option, but even the little 2-litre 16-valve Toyota engine one that this probably runs, and if I look down, I think it may be, yes it is, 2-litre, the Toyota, it actually got the Toyota Corolla engine in it. Very, very good. Power to weight ratio is probably one of the best on the track, and there are not only one of them, there should be 2, because I believe down at Universal Racing, the Team Red Racing's NGN Polo Cup champion from last year, Jeff Kruger, has joined us in his Universal Healthcare Polo.
Well, he's taking some really good lines here in racing that is tight. That, of course, is what is possible with these vehicles because they're smaller and you can squeeze it through.
There he is, speak of the devil, and he steps up to the line in that Team Red Racing Lotus 7. Double champion in the Lotus Challenge over the last 2 seasons, and also now looking for a double championship in Polo Cup, leading the championship heading into next weekend's Extreme Festival for Falcon Polo Cup. Jeff Kruger, I've asked him to come up here and actually have a chat to us if he gets a chance, so I look forward to seeing what his first thoughts are of running this thing up the hill.
Anton Cronje just missed out by 0.14 of a second to break the 50-second barrier as well. He slots into 5th place at the moment, and now we've had 1, 2, 3, 4 clockings under 50 seconds. The one that is still there that is doubtful, and I assume the jury is still out on that one, is Mark Cronje, because he clipped one of those policemen on the side of the road, so he's in 4th spot at the moment. It's Martin van Zimmeren with his 46.4. He goes top of the class. Richard Roots 49.2, Franco de Mateo 49.4, Cronje, Mark Cronje that is, at 49.6, and Anton Cronje at 50.1.
Just looking at the way things go in terms of, if you've picked up on the timing on Race Monitor or on ZA Timing, and a big thanks. Oh, hello. Let me hold that thought, because this is what I've been looking forward to since it came out about 3 weeks ago on social media. Scribanti steps up for the first time. And this is the first time we're going to see this beast head up the hill and do some damage. Wow.
Oh, boy, oh boy.
Okay, that was pretty impressive in terms of getting the heart rate up. Let's see whether or not it can be as spectacular as what it's supposed to be up this hill.
Well, we're sitting right above the start line. We're 1 story up. I mentioned it yesterday. It's worth saying again. And my chair and everything that was attached to it and everything that was attached to the table that we're working off and all the monitors and everything felt that thing leave the space.
Yeah, now it heads up the hill now for the very first time. Remember, he's been up here 9 times this weekend so far, having done the practice sessions, the qualifying sessions, and the 2 final runs yesterday. So he's got an idea of what the conditions would be like, particularly in what we're dealing with right now. It's about, I just want to check on the phone there quickly and to let you get the exact details.
I must tell you, it's cooled down a lot. Martin van Zimmeren is they're still there, but there it is. Franco Scabanti, 47.2 seconds. So now you know exactly what it's taken.
Yo-wee. So we're not making any inroads to the front end just yet, but I think we're going to see a little bit of playing around there. So, there'll be some chopping and changing throughout the day. Here comes the Bell & Ross machine. That should be Wilhelm Bart. And Wilhelm Bart in the GTR is a man who was also looking to take that King of the Hill title back again from everybody that he lost out on last year. This is the car, of course, that was on the final run and unfortunately clipped the inside tyre barrier. We spoke about it with Andre Besaidnout, hitting that tyre barrier, destroyed the front wing on the car, and it just spoilt his last 300, 400 meters of the circuit.
Yeah, and he was letting it all hang out last year. Solid run at this stage. The man that we're looking at in the top of your screen now, that's Garth de Villiers in the Reynard with the Volkswagen engine. That's the Formula VW. It's so nice to see the VWs out. It's just, I feel nostalgic when I see these. I can't help it.
It's fantastic, and of course this is a class that was initially on debut the fastest category in the country around the circuits that they raced on. So Formula Volkswagen no longer the single-seater championship of choice. We've now gone to Formula 1600s, which are Ford-based machines, and of course Ian Schofield yesterday, one of our top contenders who unfortunately had a slight mishap on his car, is the man behind that series. And he was supposed to be in today. I'm not sure if that Ford Duratec of his is going to come out, because he did speak to me after the sessions yesterday and said there was a problem and they threw a rod through the side of the block. at Killarney doing some testing. So I don't think Schofield is going to be in this one today. So just to give you an indication as well, gives us a chance to chat about how things have gone. Gart de Villiers has moved up to second place. He had a great run there in that Formula Volkswagen. So showing you that the wings and downforce on that car help out. Franco Scribanti
You could actually see it, couldn't you?
Yeah,
You could see it.
definitely.
Clearly see it.
Scribanti with those wings as well has been helped out up to third place. But Martin van Zimmeren right now currently sits as top with a 46.4. Only man to go into the Rossi times at this stage. But also just to give an indication to anybody that's watching on the live stream or anybody watching on their smartphones around the circuit, Class A, road-going saloon cars and supercars. Class B is modified saloon cars. Class C are single-seaters and sports cars. And if you have a red number, that means you're a competitor that has competed in all 10 events. If you're a blue number, it means you're competing now for your 5th time in a row. So nice to see them giving a little accolade to those guys who've spent their money and their time and been here for every single one.
And that actually started at the Comrades Marathon, believe it or not, all those years ago.
Yeah, similar style.
They were the first to lead with that. If you've done 10, you get a green number in perpetuity. That number belongs to you. It's yours. Have it. You own it.
Fantastic. And I think it's a great initiative because it keeps the guys coming back for more. And speaking of more, here we go. Up the hill. Looks like another of the Formula Volkswagens there. I think that might be Mac Odendaal or Winston Jardine.
I think it's Jardine in his Reynard.
In fact, no, that's Schofield. That is.
Oh, so he is back up
Schofield,
there. That's
yeah.
nice to see.
That's car 5 and Andrew Schofield. As I said, this is not quite the same amount of power they had. I think they've had to go back to the 1600cc engine that they had. They had to change engines after throwing the block in the 2-litre that they wanted to play with here. But back to a Formula 1600. Listen, a Formula 1600 is not a car to be to be shunned on. This thing can go, and currently on most of the circuits, currently lapping probably similar or just quicker because of the downforce available with those wings to superbike times. So it's a quick car.
Well, they've already hit the 180, 185k mark up there today as things stand. And top speeds peaking out there at about 240. There he is across the line. I'll tell you exactly where he's
Sorry,
ended up in a second
I'm
or
just
two.
going down because we've got somebody on our Facebook feed asking for a time there, and I can't pick it up just yet. Just running down to see if I can pick up on the off-road trucks time.
You see, we try and please our viewers whatever we do, and we'll get that time for you.
All right, so Terence Marsh, for the guys catching up with us on Facebook, Terence Marsh was a 106.6 and he currently sits in 53rd place. I can't give you where he stands in terms of his category, but he is behind Peter Lindenberg. That is the one confirmation I can give you. Lindenberg doing a 103.4 in that magnificent Savage beast of his.
So here is the man. That Gould McLaren, 3.8 litres, 8 cylinders, GR55 2007 model. It is beautifully turned out in the colours of Val Tevreden wine. And here he is, racing in Class C3.
And looking for the King of the Hill title again. He just missed out on it yesterday. Had to settle for second place behind Franco. And it was only to the tune... And let me just go to my notes because I did keep them specifically for this. Oh, yeah, of course, it was 0077. Yeah. So 7 hundredths of a second between himself and Scribanti for the win yesterday in the Classic Conqueror title for Classic Car Friday. On the left-hand side of his car there, that is Devon Lismore. And Devon Lismore, of course, is the man from GT Club Sport who helps with the preparation of this car and gets it all sorted out to ensure that Frisco can head up the hill in this kind of pace. That's not a bad start. A little slide, though. And he caught it on the gear change, but he's now had to just come out of it ever so slightly as he heads into Castro turn 2. Not going to take his time too badly though, because he keeps it all together now. He just battled a little bit on that gear change. It slipped out, but I think it's because the conditions are still a little bit wet. It's damp on top, as you can see there. There are dry lines starting to form. You can see that just in front of our shot there. Ayrton Senna-esque helmet coming up next. It's one of our Formula M's, and that Formula M should be making its way to the top of the hill now, right behind. I think that would be Chris Knezovic, if I'm not mistaken. But looking at the bottom of the screen, that is the high-flying Andre Besaidnote. First run there in the Gould F1. And behind him, it's car 8. It's Cornell Smith. That is a Suzuki GSX-R engine in that machine. It's a Formula M. So Formula Motorcycle is what the M stands for. Single-seater that runs a motorcycle engine. And also should be pretty competitive.
Besaidnote slots in at 50.06, so I think he'll be disappointed with that. Probably lost it on the line there a little as he went away. Car number 7 is on the road now. That's Winston Wayne Jardine in the Reynard Volkswagen Formula V. It's another one of the Formula Vs that brings back so many great racing memories.
Yeah, straight out of Formula Volkswagen, this car very competitive. In fact, if I look at the livery on that car, probably one that either Robert Volk or Gavin Cronier piloted at one point in their careers.
Yeah.
And both those drivers will be looking, going, hang on a second, that's my old car.
I recognise that.
Yeah.
I thought that was still in the garage.
Yeah, I thought Volkswagen weren't running these. Mac Odendahl is the next man up as he gets ready to go in his Formula GTI. Now in the late 80s into the early 90s, Formula GTI, well, of course, was the South African Drivers' Title Championship that everybody drove for. You had the likes of Michael Briggs, Dion Jabeur, Johan Fourie, Gennaro Bonafide, all racing for options for that driver's title as well. So the only one who's not here today, of course, is Johan Fourie, but he'll be prepping himself for his run in his hometown next weekend at the Extreme Festival.
Yeah, and of course, Johan Fourie, I think he's looking for a national title number 12 this year, and still going strong as all heck.
This is a nice little machine. I'm kind of wondering why this wasn't entered yesterday, because it is more of a classic car than a big contender for King of the Hill. But needless to say, no worries at all as they run the 17 machine up there. No, that's not the 17. I think it's just 17 on his car. It's the Duckham's car, and I'm just trying to see where they've put that in. I'm just looking at our entry list.
Yeah, they've got the wrong number on that car. I have no doubt about it.
Running through
again, an absolute classic looking car, and it is interesting that this didn't get a run yesterday.
It should be, if I'm not mistaken, the car is owned by
you're going through the mainframe there, right?
I'm going through the guys from yesterday. Let me just pull my notes. It'll be easier that way. Run through quickly. Peter Jenkins owns the car.
Yes.
Peter Jenkins owns the car, but I don't see him entered here, so he might be one of those late entries, or maybe we just missed him a bit earlier on. But he will definitely be entered into single-seater and to the sports car category. It's a Formula Atlantic that car will be running. Of course, you were talking about the likes of John Love and those kind of people last year.
It's the classic look from that era, isn't it?
That's exactly what it is.
So that was the days of Denny Hume and Graham Hill, and when the South African Grand Prix was a fixture, and they all loved to come down here. So that's a long time ago. John Surtees is another name that comes to mind from those days, and they'd raced in exactly that body type.
I don't see him on the entry list, so I'm a bit concerned. We'll probably have to get a revised entry list here compared to the one we got in our program. But needless to say, we will get the information on that. I'm just looking down pit lane. That is our first runs basically done for practice one. And I know Colin is down in the pits, maybe going to get us a couple of voxies with a few of the drivers after their first run. One man we didn't see, though, that I see walking down the stairs is Devin Robertson.
Yeah.
Devin Robertson will be out there in the Big Boss Auto machine, but I believe we're going to go straight to Fani first before we go to Colin. Fani, who have you found out there, bud?
About this seat, I'm sitting here right next to the start line, and I'm here with Willie. Willie is a regular. He's sitting in exactly the same spot as he sat in last year, and the year before, and the year before, and the year before. Willie, how's it going?
Good, and you?
I'm good, man. Listen, are you enjoying the guys so far going off the line here?
Absolutely. Best seat in the house.
Tell me, why do you guys enjoy this event so much?
You get to see firsthand what everybody event. You can be comfortable and you can
Hi,
be all
are we back?
ages.
No, we're still going.
It's a beautiful thing that we
Oh, we're back in studio here. Sorry.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Sam from Universal Health is here looking for her team driver's time. So we're going to try and help her out there. Sammy, Jeff did a 59.7. I'm going to see if I can find the Doc's time. Remember, Doc Pretorius is not only the man who's putting his money behind the race team. There you go, Jan Pretorius, 58th place overall, a 106.9. And hopefully we can also give you...
They've just updated your screen, which means you have to go all the way back down
again. We'll find him. That was about 57, 58th place. So just hang tight as we're chatting here.
Our apologies about losing Fani out there with the man who's placed in such a great spot right there by the start line. He gets it all there. He gets sprayed by rubber. So I see, he's... I see that our man has caught up with one of the Cronier brothers. I think that is Mark. So let's hear what he has to say. Going to be fascinating to hear. Let's speak to Colin. Colin, who you got with you? Is it Mr. Cronier?
Oh, looks like the audio's gone down there. We're battling a little bit, I think, with the conditions today.
The links,
The links are unfortunately giving us a little bit of problems. We may have to go to cable links because we are on remote links at the moment. But it looks like we're going to go back to Fani. It looks like he's got his links sorted out as Mark Jones makes his way into the arena as well. Good to have him here, one of our Jaguar representatives. But back to you, Fani.
Thanks, guys. Listen, Willie was saying how is he absolutely enjoying this best seat in the house. Willie, you were saying that are you from Knysna area? Are you local here?
Yeah, no, just a couple of kilometers away in George. I'm from George, yeah.
Okay, and who have you brought with you today?
We brought our friends, our whole friends, and they went. Others went some coffee, and to our right are the ladies, and we just chilled.
Okay, guys, listen, we're going to go down to the pits to Colin. So, Colin, who have you got down there for us?
Right, I've got the it's a Jag. Just help me with the Mark. You had an issue. First of all, the car. What is it and how does it go?
Look, it's an amazing vehicle. Look, obviously from what you're buying, it's an SVR type. Makes 430 odd kilowatts. But from a package point of view, I was impressed. The balance was really good. As you know.
No problem. I think if you can get some information down to Colin, it looks like he might be hanging on to the bottom of the microphone where the send and receive receiver is. Just ask him to hold the mic slightly higher up, and that might just help him out in terms of giving us a better link there. But back into the studio to have a look at the times. Garth Villiers got up to second place behind Martin van Zimmer, and it was Franco Scribanti in third. Richard Roots in a stock road car is fourth overall. That's impressive. I think things are going to change up though, as we've seen. In the past, Mark Cronier, we were about to talk to down there with Colin, will give us a little insight onto his first run of a 49.694. Besaid note, just into the 50s, but that was a very ginger run from him. I think it was this initial mistake he made on the gear change where it got out of shape. He had to just back out of it and probably just said, no, hang on a sec, let's do that again. Push reset and
take two.
Default.
After that, after Besaidnote, in seventh place, it's Anton Grenier, who clocked 50.14 that we were just talking with a second ago on our broadcast. Then Jody van Zimmeren, also a great run by Jody, 50.3. And Mike Verrier, who rounds out the top 10 at 51.1 at the moment. Just for interest's sake, from someone who knows the sport inside out, how much would that have cost Mr. B? With
2 seconds.
2 seconds.
2 seconds
straight away.
The reason being is that you think about if you're driving a normal car, your initial reaction is if something goes wrong, you are first.
You back off.
Then you react. So that's a second, and then a second to react. So I would say at least 2 seconds on that time.
Fascinating.
It would have put him probably second quickest, because I think Van Zimmeren's 46 is an incredible start, considering the fact that he also lit the thing up out of here first time. It eventually got traction probably about 400 meters down the road, because that's what he does. But needless to say, the other reason that we've got a sort of a break in proceedings is the single seaters and the lower slung cars, remember, roll down the hill. They don't go through the estate because they can't get over the speed bumps, even though they've been smoothed out in the estate. These kind of cars, the Gould and all the single seaters, have to roll down the hill themselves. Gives us a chance to just reset, as I said, and go back to the default settings now for our second run and the second practice session in a few minutes' time.
So there's some very interesting things that will now happen. When these lads bring their cars back down off the hill, what's the first thing they do when they get back into the pits?
Yeah, I think it's a quick chat to the technician that's with him. Most of these guys, particularly the top-end cars, will have some kind of technician. As we saw yesterday on Franco's B19, there are electronic aids in most of these cars as well, so there'll be a little plug-in from the laptop. Have a look and see exactly what the details are, where things went wrong, where the brake points are, is he getting to the right brake points, acceleration points, etc., etc. All that data will be downloaded. They'll then mull over the fact that this is the time they've got. How do we go quicker? This is how we go quicker. We do a couple of settings on the laptop, or we go and find out from Mark Cronier and Gavin Cronier what they intend to do with Colin.
Let's do that.
Right. We got Cronier brothers, Mark and Gavin. You guys are driving Jag SVR special F-type special edition. What carbon brakes? How are you finding the balance of the dampers there, Gavin?
As they come out of the factory, pretty perfect, eh?
I'll tell you what, you can. You'd make a very good brand ambassador one day. Mark, you had a bit of an issue with one of the policemen. Apparently, he's dead.
Yeah, unfortunately, apparently, I mauled one of the policemen. I'm still not sure where, so we got a camera in the car to see where we're taking a bit too much road. but we'll adjust and move on.
So just to recap, in these runs, when you hit one of the, or if you exceed track limits indicated by smashing one of the barriers, you end up with your time being disqualified. Dion, come and join us, please. Dion Jabeur, I mean, he hasn't changed from when on the track. And how do you guys, as a group, the older racing drivers getting together? Gavin, you'll have to answer that.
I'm not such an older racing driver, but it's okay. I'll answer that question anyway.
You guys seem to be having a lot of fun. There's good camaraderie.
Yeah, I think we've been there, done that. So I think for us, it's you learn the place, understand the place, respect the place.
Mark is in 6th, Gavin is in 21st.
And Mark, you respect for the car as well. How are the carbon brakes in the cool weather conditions?
Yeah, look, I think it's a bit tricky to get them up to temperature, but they're really amazing. We had a couple of runs at a previous track on the car just to feel the balance on them, and it's really a great package. If anybody's interested in buying something that really performs well solidly, it really does work well.
Awesome, guys. Thanks a lot for talking to us. Keep up the entertainment. We've got one more guy. We want to talk to Terence Marsh in his cross-country bucky. It's unbelievable. Thanks a lot, guys. So here we go, up here, to probably the maddest guy in the history of motorsport. Absolutely crazy. Terence Marsh, you bring a racing bucky, which we can now call it because we're out of the normal environment. It was spectacular up there. You must have been pulling 6th gear before turn 1.
Yeah, look, it's very slippery. It's our first time up there, so I've never driven the car in these conditions, so it is interesting to say the least. We're going to have to walk before we run, that's for sure.
You know, it's so interesting from the track point of view, seeing how track guys and from different disciplines start adapting to here. You're comfortable so far?
Yeah, it's a great bunch of guys. It's an incredible event. I mean, for us, it is what it is. We're used to different terrains. It's by no means what we used to, but it is what it is. We'll adapt as we normally have to adapt, and we'll do what we have to do.
Awesome. Keep up the entertainment. Thanks, Terence.
Thank you.
Right, so there we go, guys. From the pit lane, there's a whole lot of action that's going to start over there. Lots of noise and stuff. And there's action from here. So coming out of the sky is stuff it's wet, and it's changing by 30 seconds. Greg, this is going to be like heavy interesting as these cars go up the hill. I'm going to say goodbye now so I can go and find some shelter. Cheers.
So a bit of wetness coming out of the sky is a bit of a concern, but we have got a break in proceedings right now, so it might just be a little downpour. May put the first couple of cars at risk, but as soon as we've sent about 10, 15 or 20 of them, a drier line should form, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue. But it is a concern because if it's on and off the whole day, like it was yesterday, most of these guys will be praying that something goes right by the end of the day, and that I think is the most crucial part. If they get it right by the end of the day, when we start getting into the times that count. Remember, we've got 5 practice sessions today. If you're joining us on the live stream, a big welcome to all of you here to the 10th running of the Simola Hillclimb, proudly sponsored by Jaguar. And in those qualifying sessions at the end of the day, remember, as we saw yesterday as well, Arnie, temperatures drop rapidly here. We're in the valley, so as soon as that sun goes down, we're done. And as soon as we get into those late afternoon sessions, with the temperature dropping, so does the track temperature, which means that it's all important to get those crucial and vital changes that they're doing right now down in pit lane all sorted out.
So that's what they'll be doing. We'll be doing exactly the same. So we'll take a small breather. We'll be back in the next 3 or 4 minutes, not much more than that, as we look at qualifying number 2. So stay right where you are as we also take a quick break to hit the reset button.
Welcome back, guys.
Massive welcome back here to the Jaguar Simola Hillclimb, the 10th running of this incredible and prestigious event here in Knysna in South Africa. If you've joined us on the World Wide Web, big welcome to all of you, and of course a welcome to everybody out there in Knysna who are checking us out on their smart devices. My fellow commentator Arnie has just stepped out. He'll be back here soon. Arnie Geertz and myself, Greg Maloney, the voice of choice, going to be taking you through now practice 2 of the King of the Hill shootout. We've seen some great times so far, top of the list. A little bit of a change up to what we expected, but the big gunners are all in that top 10. An incredible run coming out of Record Roots in a stock car. We also saw Mark Cranier in the Jaguar SVR. That is the F-Type, which is a magnificent car, and slowly but surely starting to make his way to the front. He did have a little bit of an issue there, touching one of the pool noodles, or the policeman that we are using now as opposed to the tyre barriers. And on track at this stage, we've got a few cars making their way up the hill. Some of our VIPs getting a shuttle run to the top to see what this circuit is all about. It's great to have the initiatives here that have been put in from Jaguar, our big sponsors, and the activations that they're doing with all of their VIPs and, of course, their guests and Jaguar clients. So great to have them on board. And also a big welcome to all of our other sponsors there. Bell & Ross are our official timekeepers for the weekend. Castrol are looking after our media center, and Universal Healthcare are there to look after the medical center. Big up to Covert as well. They're looking after some of our VIPs right opposite here in our studio, and our team here from ProVisual doing an amazing job to bring you all of this action live streamed to worldwide here on the internet. We're just waiting for cars to make their way onto the circuit, and of course it is all about practice number 2 now, and there are going to be a couple of changes because we have had a little bit of rain this morning. It was kind of wet into dry conditions by the end of the first session, but there was a little bit of a split, and I can see a couple of guys still walking around with umbrellas up, which means that there's still a bit of drizzle, and it's very fine drizzle coming down out of the sky at this stage to just to make things a little bit more difficult. There you can see a great shot of our start line, and the kind of mirrored effect on that black tarmac where the rubber's been laid down gives you an indication that there is still some precipitation coming down. Windscreen wipers on the Polo, and I think that also gives you an indication from Bruce Mayer's point of view that there is still some rain in the sky, and expect probably similar times to what we had in practice number 1. I'm going to shoot down in a few minutes' time and get I'm going to go and get those official times now to see exactly who ended up where. We did expect a little 2-second penalty to be put on to Mark Cranier. He did a 49, which will put him down to a 51 in terms of his first lap. But there's Arnie. He's joined us now. Arnie, we're into practice 2 now, and a big welcome from your side, I'm sure, to everybody out there in the internet land.
Indeed, we are. There we go. Thanks, Greg. Indeed, we really are very pleased that you're with us, and wherever you are in the world. I mean, isn't it amazing that yesterday you were saying from the USA, from Europe, and we had some people from Australia, and it was right around the globe. So the Jaguar Simola Hillclimb is becoming an international event in the true sense of the word, because we also have international competitors. As we take a look there at Bruce Mayer in his little Polo, he's doing a really good job and flying up there already, but look at how wet it's become again. So what changes from a driver's point of view when it's like this?
Well, they've had a relatively damp first session. It's now gone a little bit sort of more damp. It's not raining too hard. I mean, you've just been outside, so you can tell me.
It's a little drizzle. Honestly,
like a fine mist.
Yeah, it's what we would call in Afrikaans a motrinkie. You know, it's like a little. It's like butterfly rain. It hardly touches, but it's enough. I'll put it this way: it's enough to make it snotty out there.
Yeah, it's enough to wet the
slippery
surface. I think that's the important thing. But as I said, with a couple of cars running up there, if they all stick to the what is known as the race line, a dry line should form, and it may give a slight advantage to the cars who are going to leave later on in this session. We're into practice 2 here. It is Jaguar Simola Hillclimb. Welcome to Knysna, everybody around the world. Big Lotus getting off the line there and heading up the hill. That's the first time we've seen Gavin Williams. He didn't do the first run in that Lotus.
No, he didn't.
It's an Opel OPC engine underneath that machine. And, of course, now looking to get his first run in the bag and get a time down on the boards. It's all important to get those times down. You cannot you cannot afford to miss too many sessions. If it is wet weather and you don't have those wet weather tyres, then definitely maybe wait until the next session. But you've only got 5 of them today, and Trappies Contender is going to see what he can do now in his Audi Quattro.
That Audi Quattro was, is that not the one that Saul used to race in the old days? Because it looks very much like
very similar one to it. Unfortunately, not exactly the same. Those all-conquering rally beasts of his were, I think they're actually been sent back to Audi Germany to be put into the museum. I know that the Trans Am one that he raced here when he won the Modified Saloon Car Championship in that one is still here. If I'm not mistaken, Larry Wolford actually owns that car. So that car is still in the country, but I don't think the rally options are there. It is a very similar looking car to those ones. Had a bit more wing on it than that.
In the early SABC days, they took me in one of those, and they were doing it was just outside Swartkops. They scared me sleepless for a month, I promise you, in that thing.
No,
Because they were doing 180 k's an hour on a run on a 360 with a butt out like this. It took your breath away.
No, they were beasts to be reckoned with. There's no doubt about it. Another beast to be reckoned with is Gennaro Bonafide here in his M2 competition. But going back to your thought on that one, there are also a couple of experiences that I had early on in my career when my dad was still involved at Westbank as the motorsport manager. We actually used to do the Westbank Rally.
Is that how you got into it?
That's how I got into it.
Oh, okay.
And Dad literally said to me, we've got to get Roger, who's next door to us here, up to a television tower by 6 o'clock to do the link to the news. And we had a Toyota Hi-Ace on a rally road, which was not the ideal thing to throw around. But we literally got there with Rob Waitman as our producer.
Oh my word! I remember Robbie
Jan
well.
Hutzer was our camera man.
Yeah.
And Robbie Waitman basically said, listen, you're going to have to drive this thing like you stole it. And exactly in the back of that 370Z, we did. We arrived there with 5 minutes to spare, plugged the cameras in, turned on, and literally went 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And whoever, I think it was Rion Craven at that stage who did the crossing back to us.
I tell you what, it could have been one of the group that I worked with in those days, because we had a news bulletin at the end, or sports news bulletin at the end of the news bulletin.
And literally, it was a crossing directly. It was the very first time it had ever been done.
Yeah.
And it was. And I think we had like 30 seconds to spare.
Awesome.
But we hit it.
Awesome. That is just
proper cool fun.
And that's middle 80s, eh? That's 86, 87, which is when that started. So, my word, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, we had some fun in those days, I must tell you. And it's really good to see that. Well, first of all, the technology has improved dramatically. I mean, we can go worldwide to anybody's smartphone or smart device anywhere in the world, which we're seeing today, as Rechard Rutz is making his way up for another good run. Rutz, finished up top 5 in a stock car. That is a very, very good run. But I think we're going to be seeing a couple of changes now. One cool thing I'm seeing right now is sunshine, bud.
Yeah,
it's the first time we've seen it over the last 2 days.
I recognize it. I do remember it.
Yeah.
Bonafide is 49.6, so a good run from Bonafide. Pierre Bester, just over 52.5 seconds. A good run by Bonafide in those conditions. But look, immediately when the sun comes out, I promise you now, you're looking at no more than 3 or 4 minutes, and a lot of this water, the precipitation, would have left.
And the nice thing about being down here in the most temperate area of South Africa is that the changeable conditions change rapidly. So when it is wet, from wet to dry, it happens, as you say, in a couple of minutes.
Udo de Burgess, who's racing in the B5 category, he's changed his category. That's the Audi 2.5 RS3. And up next, it'll be Mike Briggs, who rolls up to the line as well. So that Audi is a beautifully turned out vehicle as well. It really does look impressive. Look at that, though. Look at that. Straight away. Sun comes through and the dry tarmac is clear. Further up, though, it's not. There's so many tall trees as Briggs hits the road as well. And that may be one of the problems, is that the taller trees will prevent the sun from getting through there. But another hour or so, and it'll be virtually overhead. And then you'll have dry tarmac all the way through, please God.
Briggsy giving it stick into turn 2. Coming out of Cashel there, he was not holding back. And we didn't really mention it in the first 3 runs there from Michael Briggs, Sean Watson-Smith, and from Dion Jabir and those I-Paces. These I-Pace cars, remember, being electric-driven cars, there is no turbo lag, there's no lag whatsoever. You have direct acceleration. It's like a slot car. You pull that trigger on a slot car and it's there. So the same thing applies when you put the foot down on an electric car. I'm sure you've driven one, so you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
They are, and I've used the term a few times this morning, but the electric cars, the acceleration is absolutely breathtaking. It is scary. And on top of it all, there's so little noise. With that kind of feel of smash back into the seat, geez, as you leave, you're thinking there must be a noise, and there's nothing. That is scary.
That's the one debate they're having about the future of the sport in terms of motorsport and going the electric route. A lot of the guys at the Isle of Man, when I was there last year with Alan John Fenter, were talking about the fact that they need to maybe just give those batteries a little bit of extra power to run a sound system. So when the bike comes past, at least you can have some kind of soundtrack that sounds like a bike. You know what I'm saying?
That's ridiculous.
Anyway, let's have a look at the time sheets now.
Look
Record
at
Ritz hits the top. Once again, at the top end again, a super run from number 48.412.
That's the fastest clocking we've had this morning.
So far.
Yeah, 48.412 from Richard Rutz and Bonafide. Almost, well, in fact, not almost, 1.2 seconds further back. So there certainly is a bit of a gauntlet thrown down by Rutz. Rutz has said, okay, boys, catch me if you can.
Hollywood's going to try and do that. Marius Roberts on the top of your screen, trying to close down on that I-8 of Gordon Nicholson. But Marius Roberts, Ignition TV fan, and of course fans of Ignition will definitely know who we're talking about. Sean Watson-Smith is the next of the I-Pacers to hit the streets and up to the top of the hill. Watson-Smith, I think we saw as he walked through there with Dion Jabeur in the interview with the two Croniers. There's a bit of rivalry there. There's a bit of stick and a bit of needle, which is phenomenal. I love it. It's great to have.
Bernard Burgess slots into third place at the moment, 51.62, and then Mike Briggs, 51.7. You just can't keep the cream from the top. Hey, they just keep coming through. It just shows you pedigree and experience in the end.
Cronier has certainly got a lot of that as he lines up now. Mark Cronier going to be chasing down on Dion Jabeur as he hits to the top of the hill. But of course, remember, Mark Cronier did clip one of those policemen. It's basically a small wooden stick that has a pool noodle attached to it, but it is to demarcate the area that the cars are allowed to drive in. There's one on the left-hand side. Ooh, there was a clip there as well from the I-Pace. It didn't knock it out of the ground, but he definitely hit it. So potentially we could be seeing, and there it is. There you go. It has actually been hit off the ground. Down. So he has knocked it down. There is a possibility that Jabeur might be getting a 2-second penalty as well. These guys. Let's just go back quickly. Remember, we're dealing with gentlemen that have spent oodles of time on a racetrack, and even though the rule in the white book says you must race between the two white lines.
What rule?
That's exactly
what rule?
That's exactly
Who said that? Why do I have to?
No one said it. It's just written down. But clearly they do not take that into account today, and they're not doing that today.
You know what's also wonderful about it? The boys are saying, listen, I'm here for Jaguar, I'm racing, I don't care. Red mist, when the visor goes down, stand back. Okay,
that is exactly it, and that's exactly what we're seeing here from these guys. They've held Mark a little bit here because they probably have to do the repairs to the two little policemen that were knocked down. And when we say policemen being knocked down, please don't take it literally, ladies and gents. It is a half a meter pool noodle on the side of the circuit that demarcates where these guys are actually allowed to drive or not allowed to drive. And if they do clip those policemen, they have unfortunately get a 2-second penalty. That's a great shot. Look at this. There you go. There's the example I'm just talking about as we've got one of our residents from Simola pulling in. It's tough when you've got to land your helicopter.
Where did you park your chopper?
Mine's just to the left of where that guy landed.
I thought so.
And you?
I actually, no. I came with private jet and then I drove from George Airport. I like to take the jet over the weekends.
Yeah, you know, it's not a bad... Listen, don't be wrong when we're saying this. The house that's about, it's probably about a par 5 from the little resort we're staying in here with Universal.
Yeah.
There are two, not one, there are two helicopters parked outside this gentleman's pad. So clearly there's one for him, and I think maybe one for the maid to go and get the shopping.
What was that guy, the world of the famous and... Robin something or other, remember?
Yes, indeed.
Different world.
Yeah, we know.
Different world.
No, that's a whole other ballgame. Robin, what was his name? Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes. Yeah, sure. We are Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. Yeah. There are a couple of rich and famous people that live on this estate. If they don't live here, then they're across the road at Pazula. So if you're not on this side, you're on the head side.
And let's be honest with you as well, if you haven't had an opportunity to play any of the golf courses in this part of the world, I know we're talking motor racing, but Simola, it takes your breath away. Just up the road at George, the fan court area, and even Neisner Golf Club itself. Just such a beautiful city. It's beautiful.
I have a big affiliation with this town. I didn't speak about it yesterday, and I don't want to blow my own horn, but in 1997 I actually came down here and I won SA Downhill Championship on mountain bikes here.
Right.
But after that, I've been coming back on numerous occasions for various events like this one, and some good friends actually stay down here that actually spent 4 years of my career as a teacher teaching. And when we came down here on holiday, my ex-wife and myself, we ended up going to play Pazula. I mean, two of the holes, you're on the side of the cliff, looking straight down into the ocean. I mean, it's mind-blowing. It really is.
Beautiful.
It's the same as what we're seeing right now in terms of cars. And I'm going to go straight into it because the same kind of reaction I get when I'm standing on the side of a golf course on the side of a cliff with 300 meters drop to the ocean is what I get when I see these cars going in full flight.
I hear you, Gregory. I hear you. Wow, look at Grenier. Hey, he was bending it sideways there a little, and he was throwing that around. Look at the line here at the bottom of your screen now as he comes through. Is he clipping anything there? Oh, it was close.
That's the one he hit, and he missed it this time.
It was close.
He's timed it to perfection, and could be quickest, I think. That is a rapid time coming out of Mark Grenier, and I think as our timing monitor refreshes, we'll get an indication. But take nothing away from this. He was right on his tail in that F-pace. He was also on it.
Well, there were some aggressive lines being run there. We're waiting for our timing to update. Still Richard Roots. There it is. Mark Grenier, 47.1. Hello and welcome home, Mark.
Second fastest lap or run of the day so far. We had that 46 out of Martin Van Zimmer in the first run. But Grenier is a second off a full-blown race version of Nissan's GTR 35. Yo, that is a proper good time from Grenier. That is the gauntlet being thrown down right there.
Yeah, very much so. You could tell the way that he went about that. So that was gorgeous. Marius Roberts is 49.199, and then Richard Roots relegated to third now at 48.4. Here's...
We've got Jaguars on circuit, and we've seen a couple of those Italian-branded cars making their way up the circuit as well. But speaking of Italians, you don't get much more Italian than our good friend Sasha Martinengo. Fonny, did you find Martinengo down in the crowd? That'll be awesome to chat to.
You mustn't listen to the pit talk. The guy spent a tremendous amount of money and effort to make this car. It is ridiculously looking. And you know, I'll be very honest, I hope he wins it because this already is on the map, but I think the Jaguar Simola Hillclimb will even get huger in status looking at a car like that. I mean, it's magnificently prepared. You got the BB guys with Valhalla. It's going to be tight, but I think the preparation, the amount of effort that people are putting into their vehicles is so important for motorsport going forward. So I'm delighted, and I wish them all well.
Andre Verstappen, what about that car?
Yeah, I mean, it's redonkulous, you know. But, you know, that's what it's about, you know. These are Hillclimb specifically built cars, you know, and that's what it's about, and the guys are getting more and more serious about it. Yes, you know, if you don't have the money, you can't play the game. But that's the nature of motorsport. Motorsport is one of those, if you want to become a millionaire in motorsport, start with $1 billion.
Funny, get a comment from him if you can regarding Stuart White, one of the brand ambassadors with Alpha, and now the Sauber team with the F1 link.
Yeah, so you had to do with Stuart White the other day. Tell us a little bit about you know, how that all came about.
Well, I mean, I've been following Stuart for quite a while, and I was very privileged to be asked a couple of years back to go and speak at his launch when he was going to go and race again in the InvestChem 1600s. And I was just so impressed with this young guy, his attitude, and then also his ability. And he's incredibly tall for a racing driver, especially in single-seaters. And you know, now he's been signed to the Sauber Alfa Romeo development team. He's currently in Germany on a junior academy 5-day trip. I have so much faith in this young guy. I think he's a tremendous asset to South Africa. He needs a bit of funding, of course, because to go and race over there is very expensive. But he's part of, you know, Alfa Romeo Racing. You know, he's 2 steps away from Antonio Giovinazzi's job or Kimi Raikkonen's job. That's the kind of process that this young man is in. So, you know, to those who may be watching or whatever, go and look up Stuart White Racing, follow this young man. He's a great ambassador to South Africa and also for the Alfa Romeo brand, but as a young person who has a great chance to actually make it in the world of Formula One. He honestly is our best shot at the moment.
Oh, that's unbelievable. Guys, we're going to head back to commentary. Greg, Arnie, back to you.
Thanks very much, Fani, and thanks to Sasha Martinengo, one of the legends of South African radio, and so nice to have him back on LM Radio. I listen to him every now and then. You know, he's got a wicked sense of humor.
He has.
I mean, he's got one and a wacky sense of humor.
No, he has.
My favorite line from Sasha over the last year or so: the guy who designed predictive text passed away last week. Restaurant.
It's gorgeous. No, he's top class. He really is. It's fantastic to have him back on LM Radio as well. I kind of tune in because some of the sort of mainstream radio stations, they play the same music all the time, and I'm not a big fan of that. So I'm either live streaming the music myself, or I might just tune into Sash in the morning to have a listen to what the banter is going to be like with him and his fans. And it is phenomenal to have him back in the mainstream media again, and he's certainly an asset to the motorsport fraternity, and great to have him down here as part of the brand ambassadorship that he's got with Alfa Romeo.
Absolutely, and he's, like he says, he's been an Alfatissimo for forever and a day. He loves his Alphas, loves his Italian cars in general, big Ferrari fan too, and very few people as knowledgeable about Formula One than Sasha Martinengo.
Sure.
There's no doubt about it. So some of the big buckies are out there at the moment, and they're throwing them around, and it's just so good to see the off-roaders here as well.